Well, hello, I'm here with Jason Rhode. He is the program chair at the Emerging Technology Conference. Thank you, Jason, for being with us today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself to get started today?
Absolutely. I'm the director of our Faculty Development and Instructional Design Center at Northern Illinois University. So in my role at NIU, we provide comprehensive faculty professional development support to all faculty, teaching assistants at our institutions. So everything from teaching best practices to teaching with technology to mentoring, the whole gamut of faculty professional development support services our office offers.
Thanks. So thank you for all of your hard work. You've been very busy the past year planning for the conference and putting everything together, and so far it's been a great success.
We're excited, and it's been a great conference so far.
I mean, everything seems to be going off perfectly so far. And fantastic sessions.
We've got a great team behind the scenes that makes it all happen.
Right,
so
I mean,
thank you.
A huge group.
It is indeed.
So what are you most looking forward to, or sort of in total? What's sort of on your list?
Sure. Well, this is a wonderful conference. Every year I come. For me, it's a great opportunity to connect with people. So and to learn from others. So there's so many opportunities at this conference, from the information sessions. We had some great workshops. We kicked the conference off with. We've got everything from keynote presentations, plenaries. The Unconference is probably one of my favorite aspects of this conference, because there are so many topics that sometimes you don't get a chance to dig deep into in those information sessions. You can go deeper with colleagues outside of the sessions. And so at the end of the conference on Friday afternoon, for those that can stick around, we're going to have the Unconference session, where we come together and we make up the agenda, what we want to talk about, what we want to dig deeper in, and solidify our takeaways from the event. So for me, it's really all about connecting with people and the opportunities we have here to do that.
And it seems like there's a lot of interest. I mean, I see a lot of sort of posts, because over by the registration, there's the big board where people can put stuff up, and there's some electronic ways, and it seems like lots of great things are going to be discussed on Friday.
Absolutely, and it's not just for the on-ground folks either. Those that are attending virtually have the opportunity to visit our Unconference Trello board that we have set up, where they can put their ideas in there. They can vote on their favorite ideas, and then we'll be streaming on Friday the Unconference session. So those participating virtually can be a part of that as well. And certainly on Twitter, we have the Unconference hashtag, the UNET4 Online, where folks can follow along and engage in the conversation there as well.
I'm excited about that. I look forward to what we really accomplished
Yeah, it should be
during
fun.
the time.
Yep.
So why is this a must-attend conference? I mean, there's a lot out there. What makes this one unique?
Well, every conference is unique that's out there, but one of the things about this conference in particular, I think, is the wide range of individuals that you're going to find. It's all about the people. And when you come to the Emerging Technologies for Online Learning conference, you're going to meet instructional designers, faculty, system administrators, instructional support folks, the whole gamut. And the common thread amongst all these people is they're all interested in this emerging technology and how it's shaping online learning, and how we can leverage emerging technologies and incorporate best practices. So if you're out there, for those like me that really want to see what's happening on the cutting edge, this is the place to come to connect with those people that are blazing the trail, so to speak, and that are really the pioneers, but also, I think, the catalyst for change that we're seeing in higher ed today. One of the other real unique aspects of this conference that you're not going to find at others, I think, is our launch pad, this is the second year now that we've had this, where we invite some of the leading higher ed tech startups to come to interact and for us to get a sense of kind of what their vision is, what are some of the products that they're looking to try to launch, but also to hear, and for them to hear from us. And I think it's really valuable. And the participants in the Launchpad have commented how valuable it was to sit down and dialogue with some of the leading voices in the ed tech space, us educators, to really give that feedback and to really envision where the technology can take us. So it's not all about the bells and whistles, but it's about the best practices of what we can do when we incorporate and leverage that technology. So if you're out there and you want to be on the cutting edge, this is the place to be.
So what kind of trends do you see coming for faculty development and support through things you're learning at the conference or through your job or research?
Sure. Well, I've been in this field now for a decade, and so things have changed quite a bit since then. And there's a number of trends. I'll touch on just a few here. First, I would say is just this increasing need amongst faculty for just-in-time training and resources. So with busy schedules and increasing demands on our faculty, they're going to looking for answers when they need them. They may not have the time to come and to attend a workshop. They may just want to, quick search online to try to find that answer. So I think across the board, institutions are looking at how can they better make available for faculty resources in a just-in-time kind of manner. And I think along with that, another trend that I'm seeing more and more is how can we leverage some of this technology to surface some of these great resources. So the idea of curating those resources so that they're easily available. Not only, we can search Google and we could find, how many millions of hits, but how do you really surface the best resources for faculty? And so we're starting to see technologies and things come about that are going to help leverage that, almost like an Amazon of professional development for faculty, where you could have recommendations and things could surface for them. Something else that we're seeing is an increasing need amongst our faculty at NIU, where I work, for flexible participation options, where with increasing adjuncts or with faculty who have perhaps increasing service or research loads, they may not be able to attend that workshop. So could they attend virtually? We're experimenting with simulcasting programs, with archiving those online, making those available for on-demand viewing. Anything that we can do to provide that flexibility for the faculty, just like our students want flexible access to their learning, our faculty are demanding that same flexibility. And then I think finally, the final trend I'm seeing more and more is in something that institutionally those of us that work in this field of faculty development need to be aware of is that our faculty coming in increasingly have prior professional development experience already. They've attended the Sloan-C workshops, and they've come to conferences. They've maybe completed online teaching certification at another institution, and so they're coming in with a lot of those experiences, perhaps that we're prepared to try to offer them. They may already have some of those experiences already, and so how do we credential and provide recognition for that prior learning experience that they've had, but then also offer resources and training that really meets the needs that they have coming in. So I think overall flexible and nimble is really the trend that we're going to see in faculty development moving forward.
So do your faculty have so much development that's required for them that they have to do? And that's how you're sort of building in some of these self-paced pieces for them?
Well, it's not necessarily required. Right now we don't mandate it. However, several of our colleges are beginning to require a certain amount of professional development, or it's being counted as part of faculty service reports. So there is an intrinsic motivation for those faculty to continue to advance themselves. We are seeing something that we're looking at is how can we incorporate some self-paced training opportunities as part of the professional development so that the faculty can complete it on their own pace. If the faculty have that prior experience, like I mentioned, that they could demonstrate the competencies necessary and then receive that credit per se. It's something that we're looking at in our online teaching certification process. Some of that baseline entry-level knowledge that we want to make sure all of our faculty have. If they come in with those competencies, we want to recognize that, whether it's with a badge or somehow credentialing that and then making sure that they, they're not doing busy work. They're really focusing on the skills that they need to develop.
Have you been using badges, or is that something that you're looking into?
We have experimented just a little bit with them, and it's something we're really excited about, and we're really looking at. This landscape's changing rapidly, and so it's definitely something that we're exploring. I know there've been several sessions. There was a session here today about badging and just kind of that gamification of faculty development. It's definitely something that's on our radar and that we're keeping a close eye on.
Right, that's something that we've looked into a lot too, because I think that people want to be able to show that they've got something.
Absolutely, it's being able to show more of that bite size. credentials, so to speak. And I think something our students are going to be looking at too, more and more as we see students that maybe are not taking their whole degree at a particular institution, making it easier and easier for those students to demonstrate the competencies that they've already achieved. We need to do the same thing with our faculty.
So can you tell me a little bit about how you set up some of your self-paced learning and some of the results that you've
Sure.
had?
So this has been really an ongoing process for us as we're looking at trying to create more bite-size types of resources and learning experiences for our faculty. So one of the things we're working on right now, for years we've been looking at how can we take some of the training and resources that we offer, make them publicly available, in bite-sized pieces for the faculty to easily access, and then to be able to track that in some way. So we've begun for the last several years now offering several of our online workshops each month, recording those and making those archives available. We now have nearly 100 of those online workshops available that faculty can watch anytime. And for us to be able to track that, we're using analytics so that when the faculty log in, we know when they logged in, how long they watched it, and so forth. But also making those resources available on our YouTube channel so that any faculty anywhere can benefit from it. So we really want to take an open approach to the resources that we're offering. I mentioned this earlier, but we're working on kind of the final stages of a self-paced set of modules for faculty to complete as part of a comprehensive online teaching certification process. So rather than them having to come in and spend a lot of time up front perhaps with an instructional designer or a trainer to get up to speed on what online teaching is, we can have them go through some of that introductory information in a self-paced fashion, demonstrate the competencies that they have, and then we can focus our efforts then working with them one-on-one on more of the technical and instructional design pieces. So those are a few of the things that we're looking at. We're also looking at taking one of our workshops, that's our 3-hour kind of introductory workshop to our LMS, and making that completely self-paced as well. So the faculty, they'll have a list of competencies, they'll be able to view the tutorials and resources, they can demonstrate those competencies, and then they can receive credit for having completed that. So next year we hope to share the results of that project here.
Right, because it sounds really exciting, because it does appear as though the just-in-times and meeting people's needs are very much what people are looking for.
Exactly.
So when they have those built-in modules, have you built in anything to say, hey, we've missed you, come back to do part 2?
Absolutely. That's the critical piece, because you want the faculty to still feel connected, like they're not out on an island doing this in and of themselves. And so that can be the challenge sometimes with when you put up just a static web page. Unless you have some analytics behind the scenes where you're keeping track of who's completing it and when, it's hard to really keep a pulse at what point did the faculty, have they stopped out, do they need some encouragement? And so that's a focus that we're looking at, is how can we track that, whether it's through some kind of a login. There's always that fine line between keeping it open and yet having enough tracking in place so that you can have a pulse on where faculty are at.
Right.
So.
Now, have you built in anything to do engagement? So even though I'm doing it on my own time frame, can I connect with, I met Jason in this self-paced, or say that Jason's down the office,
Yep.
or is there any way that I can talk to people about it?
What we're trying to do is structure it in such a way that there are some optional kinds of interactive activities. The self-paced online teaching certification that I mentioned, we're going to kick that off with a synchronous experience where the faculty will be introduced to those of my staff and myself who will be the facilitators for that. So we're available to answer questions, to encourage them to share ideas with one another. But yet at the same time, if you mandate that, then you're creating some constraints there that sometimes is difficult for the faculty to meet some of those objectives, and we don't want it to be busy work. So we're trying to take the approach of introducing them to the opportunities that are there, being very responsive when the faculty do have questions, when they do participate. We want them to be able to do that and to feel as though it's a safe environment where they can ask those questions, where they can interact with their colleagues. Something else we're looking at is thinking about how do we take those faculty who have already been trained or certified and keep them up to date, setting up a type of a learning community of sorts where the faculty could share best practices from amongst themselves, when there's a vested interest there, they're going to be more likely to participate. And so we want to create those moments and opportunities for our faculty.
So how are you deciding what you make in those self-paced modules? Is it something that you determine as needs for the faculty, or do faculty communicate their needs with you, or how is that?
Well, part of it, when it comes to specifically the online teaching support, we've identified over the years in working with faculty, there are a number of common skills, kind of those requisite competencies that they need to have if they're going to teach online. And so some of those are just built in from experience and best practice from the field of knowing what we need to have. But beyond that, though, as we've worked with faculty over the years, what are some of those common questions that faculty often have? As we have consultations with faculty, we've been tracking those for several years now. And so we have a really rich database of kind of trends in terms of the kinds of common questions that we get from faculty, whether it's just teaching in general to using the LMS and best practices. And so we're trying to address some of those needs in a more just-in-time manner so that when they have those questions, we can already have something prepared, a tutorial or something that they can take advantage of. And quite frankly, there are so many great resources out there. We shouldn't have to feel like we have to create it ourselves. And that's another great thing about this conference. You come and you hear about the exciting things that other schools are doing, and so many institutions are willing to share. And there's a really rich collaborative landscape here in higher ed that we can all benefit from.
And I think that the other piece is that, obviously you have a great social presence and you're very up on things going on in the field through conferences or research, but sometimes faculty don't always want to come and talk to you about a problem they're having. Like, they don't want to admit that I'm just dying in this discussion forum, or how do I get people engaged? And so I think those just in time, you can start to figure out where people are probably using resources as to what their needs are, but sometimes it's like, let me find what I need without having to come to you.
Absolutely. And as you see, as we start to drill into some of those analytics as to what are they searching for, what are they finding, we can get a better sense of what are the things that we need to surface maybe or spotlight, as really those kinds of common questions, answers to frequently asked questions, or common issues, challenges that might come up. And then we try to spotlight those in, we have a blog where we try to post current events and tips and trends and those types of things for the faculty. So that, it's kind of pushing that info out to them. For example, the end of the semester, we know faculty are going to be, tabulating grades and submitting those. So what are some of those common questions, and putting that out there in advance so that they know, here's answers to the top 10 questions regarding, preparing your grades and submitting them into the student information system. So things like that, just to help save time for the faculty and, just make them more efficient in their own teaching.
Right, because we see that time is of the essence for everybody.
Absolutely.
And we'll put time into something if we find value.
Yep.
So really knowing, and I think that leads really well into your blog. You have some amazing resources out there, and it's ranked pretty high as one of the top educational blogs, and we can tell you've put a lot of time and effort into creating that, and it is open source, so it's great that people outside of your institution can see those resources for people.
Absolutely, and we've learned, our center over the years, we've learned so much from other institutions, from coming to conferences, but also then continuing that networking after the conference. And it's only been fitting to give back, and so that's why I'm a big proponent in sharing. If we do a workshop or we offer something for our faculty, if we record it, why not make it available and let other faculty benefit from it? And I can't tell you the countless thank yous that we get and the comments, and from analytics we can tell as you start to share things. For example, we know that this last year alone we had over 50 different institutions linking to our resources. And so you start to see some of the impact that you're able to have, and it's really a great feeling to know that not only are you serving the faculty at your institution, but you're ultimately having an impact on faculty worldwide.
Right, because your school's really doing some amazing things, and I'm sure that when you're talking to people, you're getting the feel for people are curious about what you're doing or how you're setting things up. And even presentations, I saw one online where you were talking about self-paced, and it's just showing and explaining, because I think that they're facing those same faculty time constraints. How do you do more with less?
We're all in the same boat.
Right, and so it's like you're offering these great sort of tips and suggestions and ways to help them, and I think that it is really great that you're embracing that open sharing network. And so folks can find you on social networks as well and follow you.
Absolutely.
And come to the blog
Our center, if they want to learn more about our center, it's at niu.edu/factdev. Real simple to find. We're on Twitter at factdev, on Facebook as well, and that's probably the great way. First place to find us, and then from there, my contact info can easily be found just by searching the web.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out. I know it's a busy time, and you're a man in demand where everyone wants to see and talk to you, so we really appreciate you sharing.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you so much for all you do for the Sloan Consortium.
Thanks.